Welcome to Quit Chasing Squirrels, Starting Your Passion Projects. I'm your host, Michelle Price, and this is episode 5, Mindset Hacks, Rewiring Your Brain for Action. We've talked about accountability, energy, and clarity. But this next layer, it's the secret sauce. Because if your brain doesn't believe you can do it, you probably won't. Joining me again is the incredible Barbara Hubbard. Barbara, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Good to be here. Mindset's my favorite topic. I feel like mindset is the key to everything.
I agree. I agree. I think it is the secret sauce, as you put it.
It is. It's the secret sauce. So let's start with the big picture. You've written that what we think has everything to do with what we do. Why is mindset such a powerful driver or blocker when it comes to passion projects?
We tend to think of negatives more often than we think the positives, and I think that that's partly because of the way we grew up. If we were often told negative messages, told not to do things, told to, be careful, don't do that, all the negatives, we were just told that over and over, and that's what sticks. But there's also this idea that our brains, everyone's brains, are wired for negative, right? Our brains really haven't evolved all that much since the hunter-gatherer days when,
No?
we might be attacked by that tiger. And so when you think about that, we are always scanning for negatives. We are always looking for the negatives. So, given that context, here we are, there's something big we want to do. We're passionate about this project. We really want to get this out into the world, but we've got that background of all the negatives poking in and saying, oh, but what about this? Oh, maybe that's too dangerous. Maybe that's not
Uppity.
as safe as you think. Yeah, yeah. And so I think it's true for everybody that the more we think about things, if we think we can do them, we can. If we think we can't, we can't. But I think when you have ADHD, you're more focused on the negative, and it's harder to overcome that.
Why do you think that is?
I think we just have dealt with so many negative messages our whole lives. I also think that ADHD is in large part about emotions. And we have big emotions. So if I believe I can't do something, my emotion around that is much stronger than my next door neighbor who believes that it would be hard, right?
We also seem to get into rumination
Yeah.
or thought loops
Yes.
that fuel the procrastination because you're stuck in a loop.
Yeah. Yeah.
They say that we have this thing called the default mode network, and that's the thinking part of our brain. And then there's the task positive network, which is where you go when you shift from thinking to doing. But they say that people with ADHD brains tend to to stay in default mode network. That's where we
Mm-hmm.
tend to stay.
Mm-hmm.
We're more comfortable there. It feels like to me like a shift stick, right? The old shift
Yeah.
sticks
Yeah. Yeah.
where you're in first gear, then you have to go to second gear, then you have to go to third gear. It feels like I
Mm,
manually have to shift my brain
yeah.
sometimes. If
Yeah.
it's something
Yeah.
that I'm not really familiar with, or I already know how to do so well that I don't have to think about it,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes it can be the fact that I already know what to do, so it's only going to take me 10 minutes, so I can
Mm-hmm.
procrastinate this if I want to,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. 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 I think we get caught in that overthinking, that loop, that sometimes often maybe a negative loop, because we are really good at being up in our own heads, especially if you have inattentive ADHD, right? You're a dreamer, you're a, overthinker, you're caught in your own brain, creating plans and creating next steps and playing the chess games of, well, if this happens, then this and this and this. But if this other thing happens, then this and that. We're very good at that. lived that for so long. I think it takes extra effort to get out of that.
And our belief systems don't necessarily
Yes,
support taking it.
exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
perfectly happy thinking about things.
Yeah. If I think about things, then nothing can go wrong. If I'm only
Right.
thinking about things, then I'm safe. If I
I
take action, it might not be safe.
I remember thinking about being an entrepreneur versus actually being an entrepreneur
Oh,
and how terrifying it was. The day that I quit my job was a Thursday, and I started being an entrepreneur on that Friday. And I never forget how I was sitting there thinking, I don't have a safety net here. But I just sprang into action because it was what I was used to doing anyway, only now I was getting paid for it
mm-hmm,
on
mm-hmm,
my own. It was a
mm-hmm.
very scary thing. I had a lot of fear around doing it,
Yeah.
actually doing it. So
Yeah.
luckily, my client was a mindset expert, and I was around
Ah,
people who were mindset experts. And I started, and I had already gotten into the mindset stuff, not knowing that's really what they called it.
right.
But the Think and Grow Riches and the Science of Getting Riches and those different types of books like that, I was always drawn to them. And it became clear to me that it's completely a mind game.
Yeah. Yeah. So
This
what
is
did
a,
you do on that Friday when you sat down, or maybe in the subsequent weeks? What did you do to wrap your head around the idea that it was mindset and you needed a
I
positive
tried not to
mindset?
think about it
Okay. Right. You tried not to be caught up in your own brain, in your own head, in your
because
own,
every time
yeah.
I thought about
Yeah.
it, I would get
Yeah.
terrified.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the thing was, I took a special interest, like internet marketing and the online space way back in the 90s, late 90s, and then this was early 2000s, this is 2003. And I was so familiar with it and so comfortable with it. That part was easy for me. And that was
Mm-hmm.
the thing that people wanted because they didn't know it. That
Mm-hmm.
part was easy.
So you leaned into a strength. You leaned into something that you knew really well, that you were confident about,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
I think is a great way to shift your mindset, right? When
Hmm.
you have when you're approaching this passion project, there's something about it that is your strength, that is interesting to you, that is it's something that creates confidence in you. And
They
if you can
say
lean
that you
into
wouldn't
that, right?
They say that you wouldn't have the desire to do something if you don't also have the ability.
Agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. So many women I work with feel stuck, not because they don't have ideas, but because they've convinced themselves that they're not ready. What are some
Mm-hmm.
of the most common unhelpful thoughts you see women struggle with before they begin their passion projects?
So these are the women that I work with every day. And I hear these thoughts come out of their mouth every day when we're talking about it. It's things like, I'm an imposter, I'm a fraud, I don't know enough yet. Um, I think the imposter syndrome, I'm a fraud, I'm not an expert, those thoughts to some extent are because we feel like we have to be perfect before we can take action, right? Before we can launch whatever it is we're trying to do. So perfectionism is a huge part of it. Another one I hear a lot, I sum up in the phrase, I'm waiting for the stars to align, because there's these thoughts of, well, I need to wait until my kids go off to college, or I need to wait until I get my hair cut. I need to wait until I lose 40 pounds.
Wait until I
Wait.
take this one more class.
Yes. Yeah. I know people who have done, you know, 30 different certifications and they still don't feel ready. Yeah. Yeah.
And then there are the ones who say it's already been done.
Yes. Yes. It's already been done. Who am I?
It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
Somebody did it. I can't do it
Yeah.
because they did
Yeah.
it.
That was one of my thoughts that held me back for a bit when I first started coaching. Who am I to share this? There's all these other people who have already done it. And I came across a couple different people saying a similar thing, which was essentially people need to hear the message in different ways. So even though it's already been done, you say it in your way and you will reach a whole new audience. And I like to
That's what I've
think that.
heard.
Yeah, I like to think that. I like to think that I'm a contributor, right?
Hmm.
I don't have to be the guru, the expert, the know-it-all, the one person who has all the answers. I don't want to be that person, but I absolutely want to be a contributor. I want to highlight things other people have said in the same field. I want to add a new idea from time to time. I want to contribute to the discussion. And that's a whole different mindset, right?
Failure is a big thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of failure and fear of success. I always had fear of
Yeah,
success
me too. Yeah, yeah.
because I knew that I was inconsistent.
So fear of inconsistency,
Yes.
fear of I might fail because of inconsistency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was it. I
yeah.
wasn't ever scared. I never thought that I couldn't do it.
Mm,
I always thought, how long am I going to feel like doing this?
yeah, when's that motivation going to go away? And I'll jump to the next thing. I've jumped different career paths many times. I like to say I was a teacher for 20 years, and that's true. But I was doing direct sales 3, 4 times during those 20 years. I was
So you
trying
always
to
had a
be an
side hustle?
entrepreneur. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I jumped from thing to thing to thing. And I remember thinking, one of them at least, like, who's gonna buy this from me now that I've done 2 3 other things previously? They don't want to hear from me
They
again.
don't trust you anymore.
Exactly.
We're not going to
So
answer
I,
the phone because she's going to try and sell
yeah,
us something.
yes, yeah, I am sure there are people in my life who I haven't heard from in years because they just knew I was going to try and sell them something else. Right. I think there is a sense of I'm going to fail. I'm going to give up on this. I'm going to lose my motivation on this.
Or
Um,
else I have to wait till I have it all figured out.
yeah. Yep.
I'm one of those. I will, if
Mhm.
I can't see the whole way through, sometimes I won't get started.
Yeah.
And I realize that's not helpful
Yeah.
because if I already know how to do it, where's the challenge in that?
Mhm, mhm. Just yesterday, I was recording videos for a new course that I'm putting together. And it was halfway through the third video that I realized in the doing, I realized, hold up, I need to rearrange this. I need to do this in a different order. I couldn't get there without the doing, without the taking action. My brain would like to tell me that I can think through every different scenario possible in 100 different directions, but I know with certainty that I do not really figure things out until I take action, until I'm doing something. And that was a game changer for me when I realized I just have to start and then the path will become clear.
That is so true. Right now, I'm going through the pages of the book that I've written and I'm printing them out and I'm going through it and I'm marking it up and I'm looking at it. Because sometimes you can look at it on the screen, but you got to really look at it.
Yeah.
And realizing that the work has just begun,
Ah,
realizing
yeah.
that I found myself, it's almost like I was observing myself thinking, they call it
Yeah.
metacognition, where you're
Yeah.
observing yourself thinking about something.
Mhm.
And for the first time, I didn't say to myself, what was that? I said that you're gonna, this isn't gonna be overnight.
Mhm.
This isn't going to be
Mhm.
instantaneous. You're going to
Mhm.
have to put some work into this.
Mhm. Mhm.
You're going to have to rearrange things. You're going to have to do these things. And for the first time, I was okay with that.
Yeah.
Usually I would say, oh, screw that. I'm not going to deal. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
But this was the first time that I looked at it while I was working on it, saying, this is going to be you're going to have to put some work into this. But
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it because I'm in the doing, I'm learning.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm learning more about myself. I'm
Yeah.
learning more about what people like me have probably gone through that have never seen themselves reflected in anything. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what has me
Mm-hmm.
going is that
Mm-hmm.
this is really good. Like this could be good.
Yeah. You found your passion,
I
a
did.
passion,
I
your
did.
most recent
Well, yeah, a
passion.
passion.
Yeah.
Lots of
Yeah.
them. But the inner
Yeah.
voice can really be brutal. It can really
It
stop
can.
us.
Mm-hmm.
But your
Mm-hmm.
book offers these tangible, what you call mindset hacks to challenge the voices and
Yeah.
to build new ones. So, how do your mindset hacks help us push past perfectionism or fear of failure or imposter syndrome?
I think many of them put the focus on the positive, right? We talked about how so many of our thoughts are negative and we automatically think of the negative. The mindset hacks that I like to use and that I share most often spin it around to the positive. What is true? What are my strengths? What are my values? What's the evidence that actually I'm doing a pretty good job? Right? That spin to the positive is super helpful when it comes to shifting your mindset.
So, how does being positive help you get past perfectionism? I'm a perfectionist,
Mm-hmm,
and I
mm-hmm.
realize that it's a trait
Yeah.
that I've always had. And I've I don't like to say struggle, but I have struggled with perfectionism. It
Mm-hmm,
is something
mm-hmm,
that can
mm-hmm.
stop me dead in my tracks because it's not good enough.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. I call myself a recovering perfectionist.
Hmm.
I think that there's two pieces there. I think the other thing that many of the mindset hacks I talk about do is they encourage you to take a risk. So I'm going to do this anyway, even though I don't think I'm ready, even though it's not perfect, even though the stars have not aligned yet, right? When you combine the taking a risk and the spin around to positive, it looks something like this. I'm going to record this video and put it out there, even though it might not be perfect. That's the risk. Later, I'm going to come back and say, huh, people really responded well to that. People really like that. I did some of my best work there, right? What it can be outside people telling you, it can be yourself telling you, but then you've got the evidence. Huh,
So in a
I
way, you're
took a
rewriting the
risk.
script.
You are, you're rewriting your
You're
script,
laying over
but
something
it
new.
can't happen if you don't take action.
Well, also connecting action to what you value. I find that that helps,
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah, yeah,
but that would
yeah.
require you to know what you value.
It does. Yes. And I think, most people with a tiny bit of digging, they know what they value, right? They value education, they value their family, they value, giving back to their community, right? There's some overall big things that most people can figure out. And you're right. As soon as you connect what you're doing, connect your passion with one of your values, then there's a positive there, right? There's a thought of, oh, this is really going to help people. And maybe I don't need to be perfect in order to help people.
One of the things I've found out as I've been researching the that ADHDers are usually all or nothing thinkers.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
they are
all or
for sure.
nothing at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm. And hence the perfectionism, right? Either it's perfect or it's not.
Either we
And if
do it
it's,
all or it's not
mhm,
perfect.
yes, yeah, yeah. And it gets in the way all the time. I think when you think of all or nothing, you either take action or you don't. You either start or you stop.
And what do they say? What is it? ADHD time is now or not now?
Yes, now or not now. Exactly. Yes. There is no later. That
Mm-mm.
later doesn't exist because
Mm-mm.
time blindness prevents later
You
from
know how hard it
existing.
is to live life that way?
Yeah, I do. I do. It's
It's
very
really
hard.
hard.
It's very hard. I think that in recovering from perfectionism, I have embraced the gray in between zones of the all or nothing. And so a lot of times I will deliberately stop and think, okay, well, what's in between all or nothing here? What can I do? What am I willing to do? I may not want to do it. I may want to keep working until it's perfect, but what am I willing to put out into the world, even though it's imperfect? And that's that in between gray area. It's not black or white, it's gray. It's not all or nothing, it's in between.
You know, when you say that, that reminds me, are you familiar with the Myers-Briggs?
Mhm, mhm,
So I am an ENTP for most of them.
mhm,
So I'm extroverted, but I believe I've become more introverted, like more like when I was young. But the P means is perceiving. And that means I just want to keep taking in information and taking in information and not ever putting like a
mhm,
period on it.
mhm, mhm.
And so I often wondered if the P meant D. But
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't
one of
know.
a quote that my mentor gave to me, his name is John Assaraf. He says, "Are you interested or committed? Because when you're interested, you'll do what's convenient. But when you're committed, you'll do what it takes." I always go back to that. If I was gonna say, if I had an affirmation or I had something that will make me stop and think, okay, am I just interested in this or am I committed to it?
Mhm.
Am I
I
willing to do
love
what it
that thought.
takes?
Yeah,
And a lot of
yeah.
times I just let it go because I'm like, no, I'm not really willing to do what that
Mhm,
takes.
mhm, mhm.
That's going to take a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think it's fair to say that we have a lot of things we're interested in, and it's okay to kind of dabble in those areas.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
identifying what you're
But if
committed
it's a passion
to,
project, are you
yeah,
interested or are you committed?
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
What are some of your favorite mindset hacks?
Mhm. One of my favorites is to create an evidence list. And I alluded to that a little bit ago. Write down the things that are going well. Write down the things you have completed. Write down the things that are your wins, are your celebrations. And you can go way back in life to say, I got an A on that test in high school, or you can do more recent kinds of things. But when you have an actual physical list that you can hold and look at and refer back to on a bad day, that shifts your mindset. That creates a more positive mindset. One of my items on my evidence list is from about 20 years ago now, but I went scuba diving. Didn't think I could do it. I
When you did what?
I did scuba diving. Scuba
Oh,
diving.
okay.
I don't really love to swim. I can swim. I don't like to swim. And I
And you
did
went scuba
scuba
diving?
diving anyway. Yeah. That memory, I have a picture of it actually, of me under the water in all my scuba gear. That memory reminds me I can do hard things. I can do hard things,
Because
right?
our HD brains don't like hard.
They don't. They don't, right? Like we like convenient. We like easy. Yes, right. And that is my evidence. And so creating an evidence list, and now I have an evidence list around my coaching business. And one of them is I published a book. Who would have thought? I never set out to write a book. That wasn't like one of my huge life goals, but it is a huge source of pride and it's evidence again.
And it's a
I
great
can do
book.
hard things. So when you have that, because again, our brains want to go to the negative, our brains want to forget, and we know we're forgetful. So having that written down, that evidence written down, is super helpful in
What's
creating
another one?
that. Another one that I love is affirmations, right? So an affirmation is when you take something that you're worried about, something that you're working towards that you're not super sure is going to come to be, and writing it in a positive way that is about you. Right? So I transform people's lives. That's one of mine. I transform people's lives. It sparks like, oh yeah, her and her and her, I have changed their lives, right? So it sparks a positive memory. It sparks it, and again, it reminds me I can do hard things, right? I can take these risks. I can, and I did those things while being imperfect. Right?
Mm.
But affirmations are reminders. They're little love notes to yourself, that you are valued, that you are good at things, that they're positive little love notes to yourself.
So basically, what we've talked about are all ways that we can rewrite the script in our minds that maybe prevents us from doing things. Let's talk about our listeners who might be feeling unmotivated and stuck in a loop of why bother. If somebody's feeling stuck in it, uninspired, what's a simple mindset shift they can make today to get back on track?
I think that the one simple thing they can ask themselves is, what is going well? There is something going well in your life right now. And it might be as simple as your dog is laying down next to you and you can reach down and pet him. But there's something going well in your life, right? And likely there's many somethings going on, that are good in your life. So shifting to notice the positive around you. And if you're struggling with that, just remember that like your body is breathing, and it's probably breathing clean air, right? Your heart is beating. You slept in a bed last night, chances are, right? 99.5% of the people listening to this slept in a bed last night. There's very simple things that are good in your life. And so noticing those is very motivating. But the second piece is then to take the smallest step. What is the very smallest step you can take towards this passion project of
Give us an
yours?
example, because here's the
Yeah.
thing. What I have noticed about myself and a lot of people with ADHD, that's some of the advice we always get.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some of the advice that we have the hardest
Yeah.
part following because for some reason we see the
Mm-hmm.
whole
Mm-hmm.
gestalt of
Yeah.
the picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you say take a small step, sometimes we don't,
Like,
it
I don't
feels
even know what that
overwhelming because
is.
we can't
Yeah.
figure out. We start things in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. If the first smallest step is
Okay,
in
so
the
the
middle,
first
that's
step.
okay.
Okay,
That's
here's the
okay.
thing. The
Yeah.
first step doesn't need to be the literal first step. It can be a step that's in the
Yes.
middle, but you won't
Yes,
figure it
yes,
out
yes.
until you do it.
Yeah, it might even be the last step. If you know what the end result is, right? It might even be closer to the end. That's so interesting, but you're right. The literal first step, you might not know what that is, but you can take a step, right? You can take your first step. And
I
if
know
it's
I've
somewhere
gotten
in the
hung
middle.
up on that
Mhm,
so
mhm,
many times
mhm.
because I will start a list of what the steps are, and then I'll have to reorder the list. And then I don't
Mhm.
like messed up lists. So I cross that list out and I start a new one because it has
Right.
to be perfect. One, two, three,
There's
four,
that
five.
perfection sneaking in there again. Yeah,
And then my
yeah,
executive function is exhausted. And
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
screw this,
yeah,
I will do it
yeah.
tomorrow. Right?
Yeah, when you have ADHD, often breaking tasks down into steps is hard. Breaking big projects down seems near impossible.
It does.
So, the first step that you might take, and a lot of times is a conversation with somebody,
Okay.
right? Just reach out to a friend, reach out to a loved one and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. That might be your first step, is just talking about it a little more. Your
Okay.
first step might be some research, right? And to break that down even further, it might be I'm going to open a tab and then I'm going to walk away. Like, that's all I'm going to do. I'm
I
just
don't
going to
even know the
open the
question
tab.
I want to ask.
Yeah. I want to write a book, so I'm going to Google write a book and I'm just going to leave that sit there for a while and come back to it later. A lot of times, my first step is when it involves some research, it is just opening the tab because I don't know why that sometimes it's really
It's a
hard for
trigger.
me. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So the first step doesn't have to be the literal first step.
First step. See, there you
And
go.
it should be somewhat small. It should be achievable. And it doesn't have to be necessarily related. When you decided to write your book, what was the very first thing that you did?
I actually talked to ChatGPT a lot. And I
Okay.
said, I'd like to write a book about being 2E and not being diagnosed until I was 44.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've already primed it and talked to it, it has a lot of memories already of that.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So
So,
it was able to support
so I
you.
just said,
Yeah.
what would an outline look like?
Yeah.
Because I knew that I work
Yeah.
well with outlines. If I
So,
can just, I don't work well with a blank piece of paper.
right, right,
And
right.
if I
Yeah.
had to create the table of contents myself, I'd be afraid I'm going to forget something or I'd start it and
Yeah.
then I just wouldn't ever
Yeah.
finish it. So I just said, what would a table of contents look? What would that include?
Yeah.
It came
So
up with
you,
14 different
yeah.
sections and got
It,
23.
isn't it interesting that you set out to write a book, but your first step was not actually writing? You didn't
Mm-mm.
start on page one and start writing the first chapter, right? You didn't even start with writing.
No.
So sometimes the first step, I would say often, the first step is just having the conversation. And whether it's with a friend, a loved one, a coach, or chat GPT, you're having the conversation because then you're processing and you're getting a little bit clearer on what the next step may be, right?
See, we've talked about that clarity hack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clarity, for me, clarity comes first. I already have the
Yeah.
mindset now because my mindset comes and goes. But if it's something I really want to do or I'm interested in,
Yeah.
there's always a question for me that I need answered.
Yeah.
And that's how I get started. It's usually a
Mm-hmm.
question
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that with these projects, it's gonna circle around and be this tangled web, right? You're gonna start with, oh, I need some clarity, and then you might ask and set up some accountability. And then you might say, oh, today I'm really tired and I need some energy. And then, oh my goodness, I don't think I can do this. Let's jump back into mindset. And you're going to jump around between all four and you're going to circle back around. Suddenly you need clarity again. Suddenly you need to work on your mindset again.
Or I need
I
some energy.
can,
I don't have much energy.
yeah. And I can guarantee you, Michelle, because that book isn't yet published, you're going to circle back to mindset at some point and you're going to say, oh, I need to work on that a little bit more if I'm going to actually face the actual publication date when this is going out to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not an easy step,
Mm-mm.
right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
One of the things that works against me is I understand the traditional publishing world. And I had to tell myself, you're not publishing this book. It's not, I mean, I'm probably gonna, because I have a nonprofit, I'm probably gonna give it away. You know,
Sure.
I may
Yeah.
create some programs around it. I've already got a
Mm-hmm.
couple in mind, but it's more, so that takes that pressure off of me. And who
Mm-hmm.
knows,
Mm-hmm.
maybe down the road, I will want to do that. I will want to go the traditional route. I will want to see if I can get a publisher, if I can, you know what I mean? But right now, that's not what
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a part memoir and it's part manifesto and it's
Mm-hmm.
all me. And for the first
Mm-hmm.
time, I can see myself in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel seen.
yeah, yeah.
And that's more important than anything.
It is. You've accomplished what you set out to accomplish before it even is out in the world. The personal growth and the personal knowledge was a
You know,
big
that's
piece of it.
it. The two guys that wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, they always said about becoming a millionaire. I hung out with that crowd for so long. And the whole point was it's the growth you experience on your way there that
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
ultimate goal.
There's a phrase, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yes,
That comes to mind here. And I believe that to be true.
absolutely.
I think we have to have the destination in mind because we want to end up in Hawaii, not in, I don't know, downtown Chicago somewhere, right? But we need the destination in mind, but it's not really about the destination. And that's what's so interesting with passion projects, wrapping your mindset around passion projects and putting that out into the world. It could just be really helpful to think about, all right, I have this goal, this project, but maybe it's really about each step along the way that is more important to me than anything.
So the book is Quit Chasing Squirrels, Start Chasing Your Dreams.
Yes. Quit
And
chasing
so
squirrels and start chasing your dreams.
quit chasing squirrels and start chasing your dreams. And I gotta say, it's the best little book I've read that works like my mind works.
I love it. I love it.
Let's have a challenge. So, for people that are listening, your challenge this week is to catch one unhelpful thought, write it down, and then reframe it into a mindset that supports you. Just one. That's it. Barbara, thank you again. I cannot believe that we're actually heading into our final episode, which is
Yes.
putting it all together, a passion project that sticks.
I love it. Can't wait for that conversation.
Yes, me either. So we're out. See you then.